What is up, guys? Welcome to Lecture 100, and today I'm gonna talk about functions. Since in your syllabus, especially in 2020, 2021 and 2022, for you guys, the first topic is functions. So I think it is good for me to talk about functions primarily today. And basically this is good for secondary 3 students, secondary 4 students as a review, and also as a review for AS and A-level students. All right? And let's go directly and jump on how to answer this question. So basically today I'm just gonna, not today, but in this video I'm just gonna answer this question, all right? And let's go. So the question here is saying that on the axis below, sketch the graph of y equals to absolute functions of x plus 3 multiplied by x minus 5, showing the coordinates of the points where the curve meets the x-axis. Alright, so here the question is asking us to sketch, right? So to sketch a graph, of course, you gotta know what graph is that first, or what function is that, what function to be sketched. In this case, it is obviously an absolute function. However, you gotta take a look inside the absolute symbol itself. So what is inside the absolute symbol is a quadratic function. So you gotta put in mind that you need to know how to sketch a quadratic function. If you cannot, or if you don't have any idea, or you don't know how to sketch quadratic functions, it will be very hard for you to sketch this graph. All right, so just for a little review, that to sketch a quadratic functions, you just need to know what is known as vertex. Actually, this is, if you just know vertex, you're good to go. However, to make a sketch or a graph complete, it's better for us to find as well x-intercept, y-intercept, right? This will, make the best sketch. Alright, so now let's try to directly sketch this graph. So let's find out what our vertex here first. But from this kind of function, it's better for us to find out what is our x-intercept. So we have two x-intercepts here. Since x plus 3 multiplied by x minus 5, and to find x-intercept, you gotta make y as 0. So y is equals to 0, so I can put it there. So therefore x equals to -3 and x equals to 5. By the way, if for the secondary 3 students, if you don't know this yet, it doesn't matter, because in the near future you will know all these stuffs. All right, so therefore our x-intercepts, the coordinates of x-intercept basically is -3, 0 and 5, 0. So those are our x-intercepts. So we gotta plot this x-intercept on our graph. So if we say that this -1, this -2, and this must be -3. And if this is 1, this 2, this 3, this 4, then this must be 5. Oh my god, this is too big, I think. Anyway, it's alright. And now let's find out our vertex. So our vertex, basically, there are multiple ways to find vertex, but in this question, the easiest way is you just need to add the two x-intercepts and divide it by 2, and you'll have the x of the vertex, and you put it back to the equation, and you will have y of the vertex. So now let's add them, because it's basically the x of the vertex is basically the line of symmetry, the midpoint of these two. So -3 plus 5 is basically 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So this is our line of symmetry. If you want to put it in that way, you can just make it like this, but it's not necessary. Now, since we've got our x of vertex, now we gotta put it back here to find our the y of the vertex. Now, in this case, so far you don't need to be very much about the absolute function first. If you can directly jump into absolute function, it's alright. But if you cannot, then you gotta don't get upset with the absolute symbol there first. Let's try to just sketch quadratic first, alright? And if we put it back here, so we have, if x equals to 1 there, then 1 plus 3 must be 4, multiplied by 1 minus 5, which is negative 4, so 4 times negative 4 gives us a negative 16. So if we put negative 16 here, then this must be the vertex, right? This must be 1 comma negative 16. Alright, if they ask you directly sketch quadratic, you may directly sketch in this way. However, since now this is the moment for you to think about absolute symbols, absolute functions. Alright, now since this one is an absolute function and there is no value after the absolute function itself, absolute symbol itself, so it means you can consider this like to flip it. Why? Because absolute function makes everything positive. So all the numbers here will, like, the result of those will become all positive values. All right. Now, that's why the negative values, but this is basically for y. All right. It doesn't affect the x. It is only for y. Now, you notice that our y here is negative 16. So in that case, we gotta flip it up. So it's basically like what is, like when you flip negative 16, or let's say if I put negative 16 inside an absolute function, the absolute of negative 16 is basically 16. So it means we gotta flip it up. So instead of writing it as negative 16, I'm gonna write it as positive 16 because of the absolute value there. So it will be 1 comma 16. And that's it. Let's go directly. So instead of writing sketching it like this, like let's say like this, oh my god, my sketching is terrible for a while. Like this, instead of sketching it like that, I'm gonna sketch it another way. Since I've flipped the negative 16 up, so I gotta sketch it in this way. Oh, by the way, I can also find my Y-intercept to make it easy for me. So Y-intercept, how do you get Y-intercept? It is when x equals to 0. Therefore, when x here in this part is 0, it's basically positive 3 times negative 5, which is negative 15. So it's around like here. Again, since it is affected by the absolute function, we will flip it up and it will be here, like positive 15. Alright, so now I'm gonna sketch it in this, oh my gosh, for a while. This must be a very nice sketch, but yeah, the form will be like a W form. So basically this is it. This is already the answer. And if you wanna, if you're a student of art, then you will be doing this better because your sketching must be better than mine, of course. Now, so this is it. You've got the right answer. However, let's look at the tail, the tail of the question, which says that showing the coordinates of the points where the curve meets x-axis. So it means they ask us to show where the curve meets x-axis. So in this case, there are two points where the curve meets x-axis, which is at negative 3, 0 and also 5, 0. So you can just show it in this way, like make a circle like that, or you can just also leave the text here will be like meets, you can say like the curve meets x-axis, the curve meets x-axis at negative 3, 0 and 5, 0, and that's it. You've got full mark, which is 2 marks, and that's it. And now let's move on to the next question, which is write down a suitable domain for a function f(x) equals to an absolute function of x plus 3 multiplied by x minus 5 such that f has an inverse. Alright, so now in this case it is very tricky because it's not that tricky, but you gotta know the concept of having an inverse. So for a function to have an inverse, it must be a one-on-one function. Alright, it cannot be like, it must be one-on-one function. So in this case, if it is an absolute value without like it is just an absolute function without giving us the domain and anything like that, it is not a one-to-one function. So in this case, if we just look at it like this, it is not a one-to-one function. But since it is asking us to give the suitable domain to make it one-to-one function, then we can make it that way. Alright, so in this case, the domain, by the way, again, for Sec 3s the Sec 3 students who don't know what is domain, it's alright, just come to Moblage 100, I'm gonna teach you here. Alright, so the domain here is basically, to make it one-to-one function, here there are many ways. So I can make the function like less than negative 3. It means it is just from negative 3 all the way down until infinite, like negative infinite. It is still one-to-one function. So in that way, if you answer it in that way, it's correct. So x must be less or maybe and also equal to, also no problem. If x is less than negative 3, it is also correct. Or if you want to say x less than or equal to negative 3, also correct. Now this is one of the answers. There are other answers again. You can also write like it is from negative 3 all the way up to 1. Now if you answer it like this, like one of these, alright, you cannot answer all of them, like one of these only, because it says a suitable domain, so it is just one. So if you just answer this one also, it is correct. Why? Because it is one-to-one function. It is just like, look at this. If you test it using a, what is it called? A horizontal line test, then it will just cut once. So it is one-to-one function. So you put one x, you get one y. You will never put one x and get two y's, alright? So that's the definition of one-to-one function. Or you can also write the domain as x bigger or equal to 1, less or equal to 5. This one also is correct. Alright? Even if without the equal to, it's also correct. Or you can say also like x bigger than or equal to 5. Or you can just say x bigger than 5 also correct. So any of these domains is correct. So you can answer one of these. It doesn't really matter. You will get the correct answer. Alright guys, so that's it. Again, I hope you get the idea from this video and I hope it helps. And for those of you who don't understand much, maybe because you forgot or maybe you haven't learned it, so welcome to Moblage 100. And we are very open to help you anytime and anytime soon. Alright, so that's it and see you.